Hello, everyone. Welcome one more time to one of our episodes in the BTS Talk. I'm Eloi Pardo, one of the directors of the Barcelona Technology School and director of the Master Product in Digital Product Management. And today we have with us Anna Gracia. Anna, thank you for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
Anna is the head of product in Q's Venture, Venture Builder. She can maybe tell us a little bit more later. And today we want to discuss a little bit more about how new technologies such as artificial intelligence, no code, low code solutions, among others, can change the way that we create products, the way that we ideate those products or we investigate about them. So we want to deep dive and learn from Anna's experience. She's been a product designer and a product manager for a long time, and probably she can guide us through these changes that we are having in the industry. As always, feel free. This conversation is gonna take around 30, 40 minutes, more or less. So feel free to also share questions with us in the comments. We try to spend last 5-10 minutes with those questions. So yeah, I would like to hear from you as well. So Anna, just to start talking about a little bit about this, what are the changes that you see this last, let's say, a decade or last 5 years that are changing or are impacting the way that you create products, right? I'm talking about the entire life cycle. So if you can guide us a little bit more about the changes that you're seeing, the way that you change the way you're working.
Yeah, this is something that I've discussed a lot with the students, especially, and it's how some years ago it was really hard to build some products because the access to technology was harder, and only a few with the knowledge of technology would really build something, which in other words means that it was more expensive also in times and in cost, in budget. And over the past 10 years, I would say, with the rising of new technologies such as low code and AI powered technologies, we can build products so much faster and so much cheaper that has shifted completely the scenario of launching digital products and validating ideas quick. I think that's like the main shifting that I've been seeing over the years. When I first started in the product field some years ago, just designing some screens, that would take me ages, and after taking that to the development team, and that would take ages to develop. And now with just some very good low code skills, we can just launch product very quick. So that's for me a huge shift. I don't know how you feel about it, but if you have felt it too.
Yeah, I agree. Probably this is the biggest change I've seen recently. Will you say that the considering the entire life cycle of creating a product, will you say the biggest impact is on designing those products and developing those products?
I would say yes, because the go-to market is just still something that you really have to be very picky about, and a lot of testing and a lot of making mistakes there. But especially like ideation and building fast and cheap, it's the part where you can really see the impact. That doesn't mean that it's gonna be your final product, but it's gonna be a very good product that is gonna allow you to validate your idea with a specific market. So I would say that designing slash developing would be the two fields where most impacted by those technologies. Yes.
I'll try to cover step by step, but you mentioned that also in the ideation, you notice that you can improve the way you find topics or the way that you find like not the correct solution, but at least try to move on this idea. Right? How is this, or how you can maybe share some examples of things that you see?
Yeah, like I remember, especially when I was starting a project or a new feature, it doesn't really matter. And you start just doing some benchmarking, and after just drawing some sitemaps and just trying to figure out which features are going to fit best with the solution that you're trying to design, develop, whatever. It used to take long, lots of thinking, lots of writing, lots of validating with other markets. And now you can just ask the IA, and through a conversation that it's going to be longer or shorter, but through a conversation, you can get pretty good insights. You can do the whole benchmarking just from the IA, and that is amazing in terms of timings, because it used to be very time consuming. I mean, as far as I remember, doing benchmarking it used to be very time consuming. So those kind of tasks are easily done now with the AI, at least in my opinion, and what I see with my team, that we can have benchmarks done pretty quickly. Of course, we can always go to deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's going to take longer. But if you want a decent work, you can pretty much do it with AI today, and just have a quick validation that everything is okay, and you're one step forward than you were 10 years ago to get there. It would take you much more time.
Yeah, somehow the bottleneck that we had on this development, like your first iterations, it gets reduced, I guess. And it moves somehow to the last step, which is like launching to the market, which at the end, it has probably some steps that are kind of natural. You need to launch it, you need to show the users the potential of your product. And I don't know if this, I mean, probably this has been reduced with social media and other stuff, or other ways to go to the market. But somehow the timings are much harder to get reduced, right? While in the other side, we reduce all the bottlenecks, or at least part of them on the development cycle, right?
Yeah. It is like that. Yeah. I agree.
On considering also these steps, how did you evolve the concept of the MVP? Like when we talk about designing products, we always go with this idea of building the minimum viable product. Sometimes we also call it MLP, the lovable product, whatever. But it more or less has the same idea. The way that we create these first iterations, the first versions of our products, has it changed now that we can faster build much more things, right?
Yeah, I feel like we've been having this conversation many times already. It's a topic that I really like, and it's a never-ending topic because it keeps evolving. For starters, I like the starting point is that today MVP are not the same as they were 10 years ago. So the access to technology and design is so much more democratized than it used to be, that it no longer serves to just build something sketchy or just something that is okay. So that's where the concept that you just mentioned, the minimum lovable product rises. And it's a concept that I really like, because it helps understand how are we seeing the scene today, which is you cannot just build valid products anymore. You need to build products that people love, or you can also call the minimum sellable product, which is another way of putting it in, which is you cannot just build valid products. You need to build products that people love and people is able to sell. And that minimum amount of the product that you launch, it has to be super well designed, and it has to be super well developed. Because it's just so much easier now to access technology. For example, in QS, which is a venture builder you just mentioned, we help entrepreneurs through the whole process of building their ideas and materializing their ideas. We create a lot of MVPs. That if I remember the first MVP I ever launched, the first startup I started working with, it has nothing to do. Like, I don't feel ashamed of those MVP, just as this famous sentence that we always used to hear, like, you have to be ashamed of you no longer have to be ashamed, I think, because you can have beautifully designed MVPs. Maybe the complexity in the back office is not that high, but the interface is beautiful. And that's very different from the scenario we used to have 10, 15 years ago, when all these big startups came up, Uber, Airbnb, even Cabify. Well, Cabify has always been like pretty decent in terms of design. That they launched these first MVPs, and it was literally like a website. Airbnb's website was super sketchy. That would not raise any money today. But that's just how technology has been evolving to a place where it's much easier to build stuff and it's much faster, which is it's also traduced in cheaper.
So to phrase it differently, you like the current tools that we have bring no excuses to create like products that we should be shipped, at least on the first iterations, right? And the other way is that we have so many competitiveness with the products that we are launching that if you don't do something else, you're probably not going to succeed finding or calling the attention of the users, right?
Yeah, especially competition, it's a really good point. There's so many good products in the market. You can have very well designed and very well developed websites, e-commerces, marketplaces in the market. So if you don't do anything a little bit better, you're not going to stand out. And that's how it works. Or if you don't do something that it's really sellable, so your value proposition stands out, or if you don't do something that it's very lovable because your brand is very lovable, because your values are very strong and solid, it's very difficult for you to stand out because the competition is so high. Everybody has access to low-code technologies that allow you to build beautiful websites and beautiful products in very short time, and to development teams. So
I didn't mention it, but Anna is one of the professors that we have in our masters. Going deep into the product role, product manager role, but also I think in general in the tech roles, all these technologies, how will change these profiles? Like the product manager in 2025 needs to be different from the one 10 years ago, considering that we have all these tools. This is someone that needs to know coding. It's a classic question, or needs to know how these technologies work, or needs to know about them at least.
Well, you know that the product manager role is a very difficult role to explain because it's so generalistic and it involves so many disciplines that it's hard to tell. But for me, you have to embrace technology and you have to embrace new technology trends. That's what I try to do. And honestly, I'm not updated 100% because I don't have time to be updating myself all the time. But between me and my colleagues, we are up to date. I think you have to embrace technology because I see it in myself how my approach to launching products has shifted in the past 2 years just because I've started to use and to understand many low-code technologies. So I think that specifically the PM role, the product manager role, will be able over the years, if you embrace technology and you have the skill set to use some really specific AI technologies or low-code technologies, you will be able to validate ideas without needing so much the famous product trio. So now a PM needs always, most of the times, a designer and a technology
engineer,
person, an engineer, somebody from engineering to build an idea, to validate an idea or a new feature. If you are able to master some technologies with low code or with AI, you are able to do that by yourself. And that's something that I've done recently. And it's just like, wow. So maybe I can shorten and I can make cheaper the cost of validating just with my profile. And then once it's validated or half validated, I can go to the product trio and then build something solid. So I don't know how is it gonna continue, but I can see this tendency that every time less, one product manager knowing a very good skill set of technology is able to just do what used to be done with the whole product trio. Just for validating small ideas, don't get me wrong, I think product trio is a super good team, but validating small ideas, every time more, you can do it just by yourself.
It brings more autonomy probably to the role, right?
More autonomy.
At least on first iterations on these type of products.
Yeah.
And also, I like this concept of embracing technology that you mentioned. I will take it as mine. Uh, also, like we talk about the changes that product manager profiles should suffer with these kind of technologies, but designers or software engineers or
Yeah.
people from data will also change or will need to adapt or will have like more tools in their skill set to work as well, right? The way that the designer designs nowadays probably change a lot, or at least have
Yeah.
more capabilities, right?
Yeah, even myself, you know that my background is design. I'm still a designer. I'm always going to be a designer. And even myself, when I have to, you know, help with design because we're short on hands, and I love doing it. So I just start designing and helping the team. I go to the IA sometimes, and I give the IA a reference because I'm not inspired, and I'm like, well, how would you do that? And it just gives me very good ideas that I can translate into designs. And because sometimes designing is a lot about being creative today, and if I'm not creative today, it's not going to happen, and that's okay. It might happen tomorrow or the day after. But you know, having someone to have the conversation and have some feedback might give the creativity back in the loop. And even if you have good AIs, you can get pretty decent mockups. So even those roles that would be the most manual roles can be impacted for these technologies. Of course, development teams as well. I mean, you can throw very very solid lines of developments with AI today.
Yeah, what I notice, especially, is when you try to think out of the box, right? Like when you're
Yeah,
stuck in a solution, and maybe you need like totally different solutions or totally different ideas. Answering or making these prompts,
yeah,
say, okay, give me something totally different. Give me something in this
yeah, yeah,
way,
yeah,
or something. Other ways of
yeah.
solving the same problem that you're stuck. It's
100%.
really useful.
100%. Even this week, we've had this with one of my colleagues. I was trying to design just a very small feature, and we were trying to, me and my team colleague trying to figure out how to do it, and we just couldn't get to the point. So I just threw it to the EA, and it just gave me a very decent mockup. And with that mockup, I was able to, you know, redesign it, but like the basis was already there, and it helped me a lot. And it's like, wow, I would have been in this loop maybe for 2 more weeks. And now I just ask this screen, and I have a mockup that it's really useful. So it's amazing. It's amazing. You have to
I,
embrace
I,
it.
I
I
know
mean,
I noticed definitely in those topics. I noticed also when I try to make some copies for a text,
yeah,
or instead of just saying, okay, here I'm going to put the copy, whatever someone is going to define, I can put some ideas. Maybe this is not going to be the final version, but at least somehow I can put some
yeah,
ideas on how this is going to look like. Right? And the other way
yeah,
is what you mentioned, like, okay, I have all this. What are your thoughts about it? Right. I was the
yeah.
other day taking a look in. I don't know if you know Wikilog. Wikilog is a
Mm-hmm,
famous app for tracking, especially here in
mm-hmm.
Spain. And I was just taking a look on the how the flows are between the screens. And after doing all the analysis, I said, okay, maybe the AI have some opinions about that. I'll just put it
Yeah,
in ChatGPT, and it brought a lot of interesting topics. Maybe not all of them
yeah,
were as useful as I thought, but at least it brought this idea of something with another mind,
yeah,
right? We thinking about off the box. That was
yeah,
clearly focused, right?
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, sometimes it gives you a lot of generalistic information, but the more you speak to the AI, the more specific it goes, and it's amazing. It has helped me a lot recently with metrics strategy too, like just telling the AI the whole value proposition, what are the goals for the first quarter of the year, and just asking what would be for you the main KPIs that we'll be measuring so that we are able to validate the goals, blah, blah, blah. And that used to take me a lot, you know, like thinking and going to Google and the most famous KPIs, how can I measure user retention? How can I measure activation? And now it just accelerates the tasks so much. And that's not wrong. Like, because maybe I used to be very skeptical about AA, I have to say. I've started using I've like my teammate Carmen, she's our chief growth officer. She used to tell me like how do you not use it? And I'm like, I need to do sitemaps and user flows, and I don't need the AA. And now I use it for literally everything. So it just changing how you look at it. It's not your enemy. Just embrace it, and it will empower your capability of doing tasks. And I think it also broadens the amount of things that you're able to do and you're able to see with the product that you're working with.
That was more or less my next question. Like, considering that we are doing so many things using AI, should we worry that our roles are not going to be any more important for companies and we're going to be totally substituted by that?
I don't think so yet. At the stage we're at, I do feel that still today the roles that are related with the product management, product data, it's still those roles still need a lot of skill set that, for me, in my opinion, is related to experience. I told the students many times that I don't know anyone in the sector doing product roles that just just became a product manager. It's a position that you just go scaling and scaling and scaling, and then you end up mastering how is it to manage a digital product, because it requires a lot of skill set and different experiences in different disciplines. So that's one thing that makes me think that it's hardly to be replaced. That doesn't mean that many tasks can be replaced, many tasks, but I think it has a strategic component that it's still not replaceable, in my opinion. Same with design and same with development. But
I agree 100%. We never know, but at least right now, this is what we think. I totally agree that we are not just one task that we do. Like, in our day by day, we do thousands of different things. Some of them can be automated. This is probably super fine for us, and we want it to automate those tasks because we maybe don't want it. Maybe it's super repetitive. Some others get some acceleration, as you mentioned before. Like, it accelerates the process of doing iteration. It accelerates the process of launching or creating a document or stuff like that. And others can bring maybe some second opinions or thoughts or complement it our ways. I'm just reading a book about that. It's called Coexistence. And it tells more or less about that, right? Like how people can use AI or artificial intelligence tools to empower and embrace their work and accelerate it or make it differently or make it more, and finally doing the job that really it's important for us, right? The more human part, where you need to interact with others, you need to motivate others, you need to interact with the stakeholders, with users, with whatever. And this probably is the hardest part to automate it, right?
Yeah. 100%. I think we're safe for now. We'll see.
Let's talk in a few years.
Let's talk about it. I think we're gonna do well.
The other type of technologies that we are just covering, it's these solutions around no code or low code solutions. You mentioned a little bit before how this helps you to create at least first iterations of products. I would like to understand in what places or what situations it makes sense to go into these type of solutions, and what others doesn't make that much sense.
For me, well, I'm super fan of low code, and it's just growing so fast. Every time more. Like I didn't know about low code that much 5 years ago, and now it's like, wow, everywhere. And it's Natalia is dropping the questions. And it's just amazing. So for me, pros and cons. Pros would be how quick you can. So it's really useful to just build quick stuff that you want to validate in the cheapest way. And if you're not ready to commit to hire people and have a solid team, and you just want to validate a few ideas and with some specific audiences, it's amazing. You can literally build something today in one afternoon, and even connect it to e-commerce APIs, make automations. For example, we at QS, we work a lot with Framer, and it's amazing the amount of integrations that you can create that give you a solid solution to your product. Like, we have crazy integrations with Shopify, Make, different CRMs, and that allows you to create something that it's very decent, more than decent, to validate. That would be the pros. It just democratizes the access to building products to everyone with no skill set on design technology whatsoever. But then the cons, of course, would be that once you get to a point where you need to build something that it's going to be scalable with complex flows, complex, different users interacting, of course, platforms that require logins and accounts, specific accounts, etc. As for today, it's not so easy to go that far with low-code technologies. But you can just manage to work with both, and just make sure that by the time that you know that you're going to build something that it's scalable, you didn't spend that much time / money for validating it, which is usually where most startups used to struggle, and of course still do, validating before running out of cash. So
I agree that at the end, this is one extra tool that you have in your toolbox that you can use it, and you can understand on what situations it makes more sense to use it or not. We have these conversations in Cabify, for example, where we have an app that has like many specific flows, and probably for us, that place it's pretty hard to use it. But there are other parts of our digital products that makes probably more sense, right? I'm talking more about internal tools, for example, in our case, which at the end maybe is less mature. These type of solutions, or understanding at what place it can bring value, what others it can has not that much detail as you want it. It makes more sense in that way. So going into this path, I forgot about the question. Yeah, don't forget about it.
Is there anything done with low code at Cabify? Just out of curiosity.
We have few things, but it's more in testing internal. It's not about the app of the users. Yeah. So yeah, I just remember the thing I want to question. Okay. I was in the Mobile Congress a couple of weeks ago in Barcelona, and I was in a conference where the panelists were talking about how this type of no-code, low-code solutions can substitute part of the B2B products that we have nowadays, right? So especially for, I don't know if this is something that you heard about it, but some of the big B2B products, let's say Salesforce or products around HR or products about more operations, can be pretty expensive for some companies when you start having a lot of licenses, right? So at that point, it opens the conversation like, okay, it makes more sense to build something internal that can compete against that. Can you replicate, probably not 100% what Salesforce is offering you, but maybe you are just focused, or you are putting more efforts into something specific, right? And that way. So they're having this conversation about, okay, are B2B products in danger, considering that this is coming? I don't know if you have an opinion about that.
I think minimum version of B2B products can be done with low code. We've done it. We've built very solid platforms that are B2B platforms, just to validate. And now, for example, we're having conversation to build something that it's going to be bigger, and probably we're going to need to add some more layers of customization and technology. But I mean, I don't know a low-code technology today that can build something as complex as HubSpot, for example. But I wouldn't put my hand, saying that it won't appear soon, because I don't know, software is an amazing tool to build just interfaces, and you can create for yourself a sort of work management platform with all the different views, timelines, Kanbans, even access to contacts, and that was something that I wouldn't picture 5 years ago. So if we let these guys think 5 more years, I'm pretty sure that at some point we're gonna have very powerful low-code technologies that are gonna reach the point of these huge technologies, B2B SaaS that we know. Not sure, but just seeing the tendency, the tendency is pretty high.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the conversation is close. So from one side, I see the value, like, okay, I'm spending maybe even millions of euros or dollars every year on licenses, and maybe I don't
Yeah.
want all the tools that you're bringing. It's a classic
Mhm.
B2B strategy, right? You're like you're
Yeah.
selling one product, then you cross sell all the other products, but maybe you don't care
Upselling,
that much.
cross-selling, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I see the value of like, okay, maybe at some point it makes more sense to put the efforts in changing that product. I'm really
Yeah.
focused. But from the other part, from the other side, in technology, it's also important having the focus. And if you're trying to rebuild all the tools internally you are having, maybe then you're trying to build everything, but not focusing on anything in particular, right? So at some point, you can also lose this focus, and you don't have the expertise neither about those solutions, right?
I think it has to do a lot with knowing the right technology and the right thing to rebuild. I worked in a pretty famous startup where they build their own CRM, and I always wondered, and I always asked them, why don't you choose HubSpot? Or like it's a very, I mean, in my opinion, you're not going to be able to build what HubSpot built over the past 10 years. You're never going to reach that level of amazingness, like 360 platform. But they were convinced that that was the way. So that's probably what you're talking about, focus. The focus was not there, was on validating some other things in the market and in the product vision. But in some other scenarios, I think it can definitely work if you know where to put the focus, if that's the point where you want to put the focus, and if you know the specific technology to build it. Because if you're trying to, copy HubSpot with a technology that is just not updated, you're not going to reach there. But if you know the right technologies, you might get very close to it. I mean, not HubSpot, don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing, HubSpot, but
Yeah, I get the point.
yeah.
Yeah, it depends at the end about your efforts, money that you
Yeah.
have, how many teams working on that. But yeah, I think it's part of the strategy. Like if at some point this makes sense, you can go into
Yeah.
this path, right? Yeah, definitely it's gonna be something much harder that probably initially you think about it. Right? Just closing, again, if anyone wants to share some thoughts and some comments with us, we can also continue with some questions. So, Anna, just also to understand it, you mentioned a little bit that you try to embrace technology in your environment, in your work, try to be updated. What are your suggestions to be updated with so many changes, technologies, things appearing? What do you suggest to keep up?
First, get yourself good teammates that are updated. That's my best advice. I learned a lot from my teammates, and we share a lot of knowledge. So if you want to know specific things about specific field, have conversation with people who know about the field. And of course, just to stay updated with the podcast and any news that might come up related to the field. I'm not a freak on these. I mean, I stay up to date, but I am not obsessed. Just checking every single week what's new. But yeah, if there's some new stuff, be curious. I used to say this to the students a lot, just be very curious. Be curious, ask questions, check some things out. That doesn't mean that you have to be obsessed about it, but yeah, be curious. and surround yourself with people that is also interested in these fields, so that you can share new tendencies and stuff like that.
Will you suggest to be hands-on, to create a product by yourself, or try it at least?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, why not?
What do you think is the best way to start? It can be quite
Have,
intimidating, like trying
have
to launch an app, a mobile app tomorrow.
just contact me. First contact me. Just have a good idea, talk it over with your environment, make sure that it makes sense to them, because sometimes you think you have an amazing idea, but then nobody understands it. So if nobody understands it, that might be a very good indicator that it's not such a good idea, or maybe you're just not placing it the way it should be placed. And yeah, learn about low code technologies. You can build an idea, a product to validate an idea for yourself. I've seen students in the master building amazing stuff in one class, just teaching them some low code technologies that I knew and that I thought that were very interesting for them. If you're curious and yeah, you're hands on, just get yourself into some low code and build it yourself. It's just gonna cost you the cost of the platform, which in worst cases scenario it's gonna be $20. So
Yeah, probably our students are able to build those things because we have also good professors. But yeah, starting trying it, I think probably is the best recommendation. We
yeah.
have a couple of questions. So yeah, the first one is around what recommendations would you give to students that are thinking to join us in our masters about learning, product management, AI, new technologies? What recommendations you will share with them?
I was not thinking of joining and learning. When I first started in the field, I would just go to. I used to say this a lot. Go to every single event. Talk to the entrepreneurs. Talk to the engineers. Talk to the marketers. Talk to the designers. Try to understand what does it mean to work with a product. Because if your goal is to ultimately manage it, you have to understand that it's composed by very different disciplines. So I would say, yeah, just get into the environment. Don't be shy. It's very interesting to talk and with the CEOs, with entrepreneurs, understand their frustrations, because sometimes the product figure is a very close figure with the C-level CEO. So yeah, that's very helpful. And also even myself, I've been doing some chats about low code, my colleagues as well. There's a lot of these events, especially in Barcelona. It's the place where all these things happen. Just go there, meet people, talk to people, step by step, just get yourself into the environment. And yeah, join the master. The masters, it's also a very good place to create connections. We as teachers try to connect students as much as we can always. So
Yeah, I will complement that with probably be super open-minded, at least in the beginning, understanding what the type of new technologies, try to understand what type of businesses. For me, it was really useful to hear or listen podcasts around different business models, understanding how a company is performing.
yeah.
There's sometimes a little bit of bullshitting about how everything is perfect
Oh
and
yeah.
amazing, and then the
Oh
company is
yeah.
closed. It's like, okay, maybe it was not that good.
We
But
have a couple of we're not gonna mention. We're not gonna say names.
we're not gonna put names. But yeah, definitely sometimes this happens, which is not a bad notice, but it's something that's it exists in the market. But yeah, definitely trying to, if it's as important to learn from technology as learning from the business side as well, right?
Yeah.
Going into other questions, and this is something that came to my mind just before. I heard this topic about having solo entrepreneurs, people that is
Oh yeah.
launching companies by themselves, because the tools that we're having nowadays support you, right? Like nowadays, probably it's much easier than ever to create an e-commerce by yourself or create even a digital product by yourself. How do you see this trend? I don't know if you know someone or listen about this type of products or solutions. But I've seen it more and more products that are launched by only one person, or companies launched by only
Yeah.
one person. That's supported and are making money. This is the surprising part. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I sound conservative, but I'm not very fan of solo founders. I think it's always nice to have a partner. That doesn't mean that you can build things on your own. That's amazing. But I think part of validating, it's also discussing with another part. How do you feel about this? What do you think about this? Because otherwise it's just you with your thoughts, and I think it gets a little bit unhealthy, so like like wealth wise. But I do think that you can build things on your own and you can test on your own, and that would be like the pre-sala to really build something, and maybe look for co-founders if you want to. I think it's healthier to have someone by your side than do it on your own. But everyone has different
I,
personalities.
I totally agree. Like I every time I launch a product or a project by myself, I try to find a partner. And even sometimes it's not just to escalate faster or make things differently, but just to share my pains, right? Of the problems I'm having, how he sees certain things. Probably technology
Yeah.
is supporting you in order to escalate certain
Hmm.
certain projects. But even though I prefer just to share it, because at the end
Yeah.
it makes you more solo, and sometimes
Hmm.
it's kind of counterintuitive
Hmm.
doing that way.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I feel the same.
another question going in this way. It talks about the non-technical leaders building companies. Do you think that these trends that we're talking about, these technologies, will support having these
Mm,
non-technical leaders?
I think this already happens. No, I know many CEOs who are not techie on the background, but just surround themselves with very good technical profiles. So maybe instead of people, it's just technology that you surround with. But yeah, of course, of course. But again, I still think that I mean, being technical and being successfully doesn't have to go together, and being non-technical and being non-successfully doesn't go together either. You can be non-technical but be very well consulted and advised, and have the eager to want to understand technology. If you don't want to understand technology, maybe you're not going to be successful in a world where we're launching digital products. So
Well,
yeah, why not? I mean,
100%. Like, I don't think the line is between technical and non-technical. It's
yeah.
between people that wants to know about technology. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
code it. Maybe they're not
Mm-hmm.
professional designers, whatever. But if you don't want to understand technology, you're gonna struggle
Yeah.
launching anything
Yeah.
in the future. If you
Yeah.
can code, or you are a software engineer, or you are not, but you want to understand technology, how it works,
Yeah.
these type of solutions and others, you probably
Yeah.
have a chance. It's gonna be hard
Yeah.
all the time. It's gonna be
Yeah.
hard, but you have a chance at least. Right?
Either way.
If not,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same. I feel the same.
Super. Thank you so much, Anna. I
No, no more
think that's all
questions.
for today. I think
Thank
we are
you
fine.
for having me.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for spending this time with us in BTS Talks. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining and for sharing your thoughts
Thank you.
around technology. And yeah, see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Bye bye.